We don't talk about a digital strategy anymore.
Right.
We talk about building a better commercial strategy in a digital world.
AI offers significant benefits to improve how retail media integrates with the digital shelf.
What AMCA allows you to do is chunk the 200,000 people into 2,000 identities at a time, so you get 100 audiences.
Right.
And then on those 100 audiences, you serve them DSP media, and you work out which of those 100 actually performed well, which one actually didn't perform well. You rank and sort and prioritize, and you keep doing this on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So this has actually unlocked massive amount of performance.
Perfect NTB. I want to bring the focus to the internal teams because this takes a team to orchestrate and execute. You have people from commerce managing the accounts. You have people from media managing the retail media and all other media plan. You have people from marketing and brand side, and data is the main fuel to run this engine.
We don't talk about a digital strategy anymore.
Right.
We talk about building a better commercial strategy in a digital world, which is completely different.
Different mindset.
Different mindset, indeed. That's one thing.
But back in 2019, we already said, this is going to be big and we don't want to have a specific digital team. I think it's important that digital is from everybody, right? So what we said is that, for instance, the shopper marketer who's responsible for customer X also needs to do the online version. And the same counts for the category manager. So he's doing offline and online.
For the last 3 years, I specialized in performance media. So performance media being retail media. And my team is split up into 3 parts. 1 is in-house media buy, 2 is in-house content production, right? And then thirdly is in-house data science and measurement. In this space that we work in, you have to be hands-off keyboard to a certain extent. Totally agree. Otherwise, if you become too attached to PowerPoint and strategy, you won't fundamentally understand how these things work because you're just too far away from the detail.
Dependency will keep increasing, both in child, counterparts, and external partners, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. And then you don't build any internal IP and you just leverage partners consistently without, building that differentiation inside your organization.
Actually, one thing you mentioned is really struck me. You mentioned your team is responsible for 3 core functions. One is performance media buying, and then media content generation, and also the data science of it, which I assume is measurement and reporting as well.
Yes.
Is it one team or is it multiple teams combined in a cross-functional structure?
So my team is purely for retail media.
Okay.
And in terms of measurement, it is more so against what the retail media partners actually offer. So Amazon, Walmart, Kroger in the US had data cleaning functionality, and that's where we're doing a lot of the internal measurement. Right. Now, the organization uses MFX, and that's a broader piece that goes from top of funnel to bottom of funnel. So it's not unique to my team, but we're partnering heavily with the retailers from a measurement point of view to work out, in this new scope of retail media where investment is growing year on year, how do we make sense of it all and what makes sense for our brands and categories?
I sit on the media side, but I have a counterpart, Kelly, who sits on the e-commerce side.
Right.
So we're going at retail media from 2 different angles with the 2 biggest stakeholders within retail media from a Mars Wrigley perspective, e-commerce and media. So it's quite interesting. It's making sure that everyone has a seat at the table.
With the ongoing buzz about retail media, and of course it's integrating the commerce and the digital media investment, how do you see this current integration playing into the CPG brands in our industry, and how it's going to impact the ongoing digital media investments and the commerce performance measurement? Where do you see it's going in the next couple of years?
I think it's exciting to look at where it's come from, first of all. If you go back 5 years, probably retail media was limited predominantly to Amazon, and maybe it was run by an Amazon account manager, then maybe a digital marketing manager, then maybe you get a small team. Now we're really at a point where it's fully cross-functional and we're working across shopper, media, e-commerce. And actually that provides 2 things. 1, the ownership has changed and will continue to evolve. And 2, the investment piece has begun to change. So
tell me about the investment piece.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously as more stakeholders have got more heavily involved, there is an opportunity for more people to support it, but they all have their own agendas, right? So the KPIs for someone working in media, very different to someone working in e-commerce. So actually, how retail media is run by any CPG probably depends on who the lead stakeholders are, who's funding it. Despite what retailers think, there isn't an infinite pot of money, but maybe some money's coming from media, some's coming from trade, some's coming from shopper. So yeah, it's really how is the investment driving the engagement within a business from the different teams that are involved in retail media.
Measurement of the investment on the retail media network and the transparency of the reporting. Because sometimes the retail media network or aggregating platform you invest your media budget is owned by your media agency. And in the US, we used to call it student grading their own homeworks. How do you see this evolving? Because I know this is another big pain point for the brands in the CPG especially. How do you see this evolving? Are retailers or RMNs cooperating with brands to ease this pain or answer these questions, to provide transparency? And as these measurement platforms are evolving fast enough to convince brands to invest heavily, to invest securely, or they have doubts in their investment and they sure making slow baby steps to increase the required retail media investment. Where do you see this going?
I think established brands already should have a way of measuring the efficacy of their brand media and of their shopper marketing. So it's really just about data. It's data, data, data. That's what you're buying when you invest in a retail media network. So make sure you ingest it. You stole from my notes students don't mark their own homework.
Really?
But it's true, right? You don't want your agency to check it. You don't want the retail media network. Of course, yeah, it's great. It works wonderful. Please give us some more money. It's not quite that simple, but that is how it sometimes feels. And so actually, I think making sure you get the data, you ingest it into platforms that you already use to measure other types of media and marketing, right, and then make a comparison and look at it. Is it delivering against your campaign objectives? And how is it delivering versus other media that you might be running?
Let's look at the other aspect of retail media. Yes, it's a great lever to grow commerce. It's a great lever to increase profitability if you're in the right category or if you're playing into the right retail media networks. But there's another big piece of puzzle which is related to the first-party data. And of course, not every retailer platform, not every marketplace is equal when it comes to providing this data. To our conversation yesterday, it depends on how you define first-party data from whose angle. Where do you see these relationships between retailer marketplaces and the brands in terms of first-party data collaboration? And do you think, is it mature enough to really make it a big piece of investment with the data clean rooms, with the audience building capabilities, or still in the early conversation, it's still in nascency?
No, I think, again, it depends on the category, it depends on the retail media network. But actually, you've got a wealth for a brand, second-party data, the retailer's own data, that's starting to help us build a picture of what our consumers are doing, how they're shopping, what packs they're buying into with that retailer.
Right.
Actually, if you do have first-party data as a brand, whether it's from your D2C, maybe it's from a brand website, sweepstake, whatever you ran, there's a great opportunity to overlay that in a clean room and build an even more detailed picture of what your consumer is. You might think that because the retail media network says this shopper never buys pack A, or they never buy big packs, they never buy on-the-go packs, and then you overlay your D2C data and you realize that's all they buy, but just in the retailer they only buy impulsively or they only buy whatever. So yeah, I think the more data we can get from more different sources, put it through a clean room, make sure that it's anonymized and nicely sorted so that a brand can utilize it, it helps us build a better picture of the shopper that we're trying to target, and in turn makes it a better experience for the shopper because they're going to get something more targeted, more personalized, ultimately more relevant for them.
But in the beginning of retail media, you only had a few metrics, right? So ROAS was the holy grail in the Bible, but now we are looking into, okay, but what does 10 times an uplift says? I think it's more about the incrementality of the things you are doing in retail media. So we do have a list of wishes.
No, but it's much more about also what does it mean in terms of absolutes and what does it mean in terms of the incremental ROI.
Reckitt is known for its digital capabilities, and it's, I think, very hands-on, robust teams performing at high levels. And first-party data is a very strong area where you can collaborate with your retailers. But like based on the example you just shared, sometimes content, sometimes digital capability from the retailer side is just blocking the road or slowing you down. Could you walk us and give us some examples about the first-party data capabilities around data clean rooms you're working on? And I guess you have some in-house capabilities as well. True. Would you walk us through about how it's benefiting your portfolio and your performance marketing campaigns?
Sure. So the nutrition business has been built off the back of CRM marketing for 16, 17 odd years, longer than I've been at Reckitt, right? So to the US, we sample to millions of households on an annual basis. So in order to opt in for a sample, a consumer has to give us their zero-party data, right? Well, name, address, phone number, email, etc., as well as expected date of birth of baby. Because once we know the expected date of birth, baby, that kicks off the CRM journey that we put someone through, right? So there's no point of sending people, emails about first month of baby if they don't have a baby yet. So that's a mandatory field within our CDP. What would happen if we mirrored the CRM experience into a DSP experience? So, for example, we have 2 flanker brands or portfolios outside of core infant nutrition. So we have prenatal vitamins for mom.
Right.
We have vitamins for baby after baby is born for breastfeeding babies. We also have toddler formula as well. So after 12 months, you transition into toddler formula. And in the US, toddler is a very small part of the business, whereas in other markets, toddler is huge. Toddler could be like upwards of 50% in other markets, but in the US, it's quite small. So the idea was, given that I know expected date of birth for baby, how do I market vitamins to mum before she enters before baby comes? Right. So for example, one of the really interesting data sets that Amazon provides you is the search data. So I'll give you an example outside of my category. But let's say if you're Kimberly-Clark and you have Huggies and your competitor is Procter & Gamble and you have Pampers, right? As Huggies, you can go into AMC and type in keyword Pampers, look at everybody who searched Pampers last 30 days but did not purchase the category. Right. It will spit out a list of, let's say, 200,000 people. Okay. What AMC allows you to do is chunk the 200,000 people into 2,000 identities at a time. So you get 100 audiences. Right. And then on those 100 audiences, you serve them DSP media and you work out which of those 100 actually performed well, which one actually didn't perform well. You rank and sort and prioritize, and you keep doing this on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So this has actually unlocked a massive amount of performance.
Perfect NTB.
Exactly. Yeah. And in that category, we had to focus on NTB. So for me, this data clean room capability and combining it with performance media is where I think retail media is very cool, specifically for CPGs who do not have any first-party data.
I see artificial intelligence being heavily used in most of digital content, creative assets generation, the content generation, etc. Of course, DSP, programmatic, it's a good part of it too. Where do you see AI being most effectively utilized when it comes to the retail media campaign planning or optimization? Do you see that it's still also already in the early conversations, or is there any good examples that you can share? Hey, X AI solution is really helping for any CPG to measure or optimize a retail media campaign. Do you see this is happening today?
So there are two main things on this. One, yes, there's definitely companies out there that will help you with optimizing content, heat mapping, propensity for purchase or intent. Those are really great for your content. But actually, I think you can take a step back and look at it more holistically. I think AI offers significant benefits to improve how retail media integrates with the digital shelf, because ultimately, without a good digital shelf, retail media falls flat, right?
Kudos for saying that. I'm a big proponent of the same argument.
For sure. So I always see the digital shelf as 3 main pillars. It's about your availability, it's about your visibility, and it's about your conversion or your content, right? So availability, first of all. Offsite in particular, it's still possible to serve ads on a retail media network for a product that's out of stock. That shouldn't happen. So AI actually could help you, even down to a local store level, understand what's the store availability. Do we want to serve this ad to this consumer based on their geolocation, based on their local store? Do we want to serve a different ad, either from the same brand, or actually, are we just going to serve them a competitor brand? That's the retail media network to decide. So there's availability piece. The visibility piece, I think, is really interesting because actually through AI, we'll start to be able to quickly make calculations on what placements or what campaigns are performing best and optimize our budgets accordingly. So actually, if a certain placement is converting massively or clicking through massively, actually maybe we should be channeling more funding towards that. But we don't want to make the decisions about that in real time. We want AI to help us.
Of course.
This is our part. How do we spend it best? And then lastly, you talked about content. The dynamic content is a really big piece, because I think actually there's a huge opportunity. Maybe it's that you change the content based on a shopper's geolocation so that it features their favorite football team, American football, soccer, whatever.
Right.
But actually the content served is based on their location. It's trying to appeal to them. Maybe it changes the content because they have pets, don't have pets. They love hosting parties, they don't love hosting parties. They're foodies, they're not. If you're a rug cleaner, for example, that's great for people that drink wine, also people that have pets. It's, you can serve the ad that's curated with better content to the right consumer. So yeah, I think all across the three pillars of digital shelf, there's a huge opportunity for AI to optimize our retail media spend.
Machine learning doesn't sleep. I don't need somebody awake testing these campaigns because the machine is actually monitoring this.
Right.
So this is one internal capability that we built to leverage, not just use the data clean room for measurement, which is the reachable use case of data clean rooms, but more so for activation.
Is this for US market?
Yes.
Okay. Not global?
Not yet.
Okay.
The second thing is using Gen AI to do the boring stuff that people should do part of their jobs, but they don't do.
The leadership team had to work with all latest Gen AI tooling. So I've written a case about creating a new brand. They got a lot of sources towards it, so PDF files about category growth, our annual report, and they need to combine everything within the AI tooling and
Custom GPT built for the new brand initiative.
exactly.
Okay.
But it was really eye-opening for a lot of people in the group, because often do not have the time to search themselves. What is AI? What is Gen AI? How can I improve my work, daily work with it? And you saw the energy floating around.
Learning, prompting, asking the right questions. I think one of the big challenges we still have is that there's a lot of data.
Right.
But to make sure that we bring those data into actionable insights,
Right.
and people start doing things differently, moving towards a more test and learn culture where it's okay to make mistakes, especially when you have that data, you can easily adapt and change and move on, which is great in this new whole era of using data and technology. But we need to face the fact that we work with a big group of people, a great workforce, which has not grown up in this. So there's a big challenge, and therefore we run the programs like Tom mentions to make sure that we support the people in order to become more data and tech savvy.
They need to feel safe.
Absolutely.
You feel comfortable. Making errors is not a big deal.
Yeah.
You just need to continue learning, stand up and keep moving.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the agility nowadays.
Yeah. So you also need to do that because you need to prevent the sort of culture clash, if you like. New youngsters coming in, while we still have people from my age, for instance, 45, and they're not used to those kind of things. So we really need to bring those things together and make sure that we become successful together with all those generations.
Yeah, we don't need to have it to see it as a threat, but more like as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Excited to meet us at industry events next year? Scan the QR code to view the full event calendar kit.